Peace of the Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Today, my friends, is the feast of John the Baptist. It's on the calendar for tomorrow. Could have moved it for today, but we will just stick to the program as is, but just want to remind you that his feast day is tomorrow, John the Baptist, and you've heard of him before. And so today, I want to preach to you from Mark's Gospel, chapter 4, verses 31 to 41, on the topic, who calms the storms in our lives? Who calms the storms in our lives? My brothers and sisters, many of you are here today because you enjoy being with your friends and loved ones. But I think that most of you are here because you want to hear a word from the Lord. You are looking for that deeper relationship with the Lord. And so whatever your motivation is for being here, whether you feel a sense of duty, you brought a friend to church, or you're hoping to find a word, a symbol, or a sign that will speak to your circumstance today, whether you just came in to get some cool air or just didn't have anything to do this morning and decided you would just drop by, Jesus invites all those that labor and are heavy laden to get some rest. Summer is upon us. This is a time when some of us may take time to visit loved ones, travel to the park, have family reunions, participating in outdoor activities. Some of us may choose to have summer jobs. Others may be feeling the stress of having to work 2 or 3 extra jobs just to make ends meet. Some may be unemployed or underemployed. Some of us may be taking courses to retrain for another type of work. Some of us may be exhausted from looking for work and might have just given up on the prospect of everything, finding the ideal position. And some of us may be feeling the pinch of the economic and financial pressures of having to find money to put the kids in summer camp. Still others may be anxious about getting ready to go to college to make or transition from kindergarten. Others may be struggling with some kind of physical or mental illness. Some of us may have some kind of addiction, maybe it's food or drugs or sex or whatever addictions are. Some of us may be struggling with some kind of isms, racisms, or any of those kinds of isms. Some of us may be contemplating maybe to retire, or maybe can't, or we want to. Some of us may want to downsize, or we may be experiencing the emptiness syndrome with kids getting ready to leave the nest. Some of us may have lost loved ones, and we may be grieving that loved one that we have lost. We may be just stressing out from some of the uncertainties of not knowing if tomorrow a company may go bankrupt or would not survive this economic downturn. Overall, these issues might be causing you and I to experience all sorts of emotions. We may be experiencing some fear, some anxiety, feeling hopeless and helpless. And thus we might be feeling that we may never get out of the storms of life. And like Jesus calmed the storm for the frightened disciples, Jesus will calm the storms in your life situation if you have faith. Beloved, the disciples of Jesus knew what it meant to be in the eye of the storm. They too experienced trials and tribulations. They too doubted their faith in Jesus Christ. They too at times did not understand who this person was, that they dropped everything to follow. In today's reading, and in the Gospel of Mark, chapter 4, verses 35 to 41, we hear about some of the storms, some of the hardships that many of Jesus' disciples experienced as they journeyed with him throughout his entire ministry. We hear them questioning about his identity, questions about faith and trust, and the whole notion of what it means to be a disciple of Christ. We know that when hard times come and when doubts arise, we often panic and wonder if God cares. This is clearly illustrated in Mark's Gospel as the violent storm at sea beats down on the boat. The disciples see Jesus sleeping on a pillow, and they ask him, "Do you not care that we are perishing?" Some versions say, "Do we not care that we are drowning?" In other words, the disciples seem to assume that Jesus can do something about the storm, but he's sleeping rather than acting. The human response is to be afraid, to be doubtful, to waver in one's faith and trust, to be fearful, which leads to anxiety. But here is our lesson. My friends, being a disciple of Jesus reaffirms that we can put our trust in Jesus. God calms the raging storms of our lives. We have not been abandoned, but rather we find that Jesus is right here in the boat with us at all times. Did you know, children, that the way that the church is set up, the way it's designed, look up, it's in the image of a boat. The church do have its storms as well. Pray to God to help you in time of need. Jesus tells us in Matthew chapter 7, verse 7, "Ask and it shall be given unto you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door will be open." You see, Redeemer, being a Christian doesn't mean that we will not have storms. One of the great preachers in the African American tradition, Beatrix Hicks, wrote a book, Preaching Through a Storm, where he shared some of the challenges he faced during his pastorate at a large urban parish, in which he said, and I quote, "We are either coming out of a storm, in a storm, or heading for a storm." Beloved, in this life, you and I will have joys as well as despair. We're always in that tension. In this life, you and I will have ups and downs. In this life, we will have peaks and valleys. In this life, we'll have positive and negative. You will have struggle, controversy, and division. This is all what it means to be a disciple of Christ. But it's more than that. Discipleship is a call to obedience. It's about self-sacrifice. Dietrich Bonhoeffer said, there is a cost to discipleship. Jesus and his disciples faced storms, and so will you and I. All of Jesus' disciples were crucified except for John the beloved. Jesus had his own storms in Judas, who betrayed him. Peter denied him 3 times, and Thomas doubted him. And ultimately, Jesus was crucified. And we know some contemporaries who were there trying to do God's work, who were also killed. We know about Martin Luther King Jr. and many others. But the good news this morning, Redeemer, is that Jesus came to tame the storms of our lives. We hear in Mark 4, verse 41, the disciples asked the question, who then is this? Who then is this that tames the wind and the sea? Who then is this that even the wind and the sea obey him? This question is the key. This is the hinge to the whole of